Om. 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 Om Pranam. Om Pranam. Om Pranam. Om. The 29th live stream teaching of SATYAVEDISM, entitled The Panchavandanam, Bodhana and Zayana, plus Shuddhi, Jala, Lssv 29. Om. God and the happening of. Om. So God and the happening of the previous live stream teaching was Panchavandanam, an introduction, and it went over the essential components of the Panchavandanam Om that are to be observed and practiced. So this is the second teaching that is about the Panchavandanam, and it goes into specifics about the observances, the first and the fifth observance of the Panchavandanam Om. Now, the Panchavandanam is the 5 obligatory ritual observances of SATYAVEDISM Om, and they are daily, seemingly in God eternity Om. They are practice and sadhana, and also God's celebration. So it is not that these observances are solely for practice, and then upon, say, God realization or self-realization, God realization are separate seeming events, but self-realization, that there shouldn't be discarding of the Panchavandanam because there's no longer a need of practice at some point. The rituals are a celebration, they're God's celebration. So it is seemingly ongoing in God eternity. And these practices are not executed by any individual, because there are no individuals. These are not what are considered individual spiritual practices in any conventional sense, or worship, or prayer, or etc. These are God eventings. These are executed by God directly. So there is no individual practicing. These are God events. This is God eventing. This is God doing, and there's no separation of any parts. It is completely non-dual. So to get into the basically introductory, the light, the easily executable observances first is a way of segueing into the whole practice in general. So it's easier to get acquainted with these more simple observances. So there's a lot of God intel tech going on here, God happening. So it should be successful, and if for some reason the live stream blows up, then it will be continued. All right. Now, this is God in the form of the SATYAVEDISM website. And this is what is called a homepage, or the entry portal. So this should be introduced because it's of extreme importance. There is much God information available here, Om, in infinity, God infinity. And there's scrolling there so that there's viewing of the content upon entry. That is www.satyavedism.org. Om. God in the form of and the happening of. Om. So if there's viewing here, there can be selecting of the Panchavandanam PV SSV here on the website. And then there'll be clicking into it to get to this main page here. There are already other teachings that are supplementary to the Panchavandanam and then are basically included within the whole of the Panchavandanam and the website, God in the happening of. Then in the link in what is called the description of this video live streaming here, there is a link to there is a link that will lead to the 15 revelations of the Panchavandanam. That is the first link. Then the second link leads to the main revelation, the first PVSSV 1. And that is here. Now there's a lot of introductory information in here, but this is not the whole Panchavandanam. This is only the portal, seemingly, of the Panchavandanam, and then there are links to all the other revelations, the other 2 to 15 revelations of the Panchavandanam. So be not confused that in assuming that this is the whole of it. This is basically the beginning of it, the introduction. And then all of these links that cannot be pointed to. In the color, the red color, go off to the other revelations of the other 14. The 15th is the appendix, which is going to be a huge source of information, of extra, basically, additional information that is going to branch out into more detailed information about the Panchavandanam as already occurring. So this has already been gone through in the introduction, the Lssv 28. So now there is going to be concentration on the Bodhana and Zayana and Shuddhi, and then the other components that are within those that are utilized. Perhaps the highlighting here can help. See the Bodhana here. All right. Zayana there. And then below it, the Shuddhi. So the Bodhana is the waking observation. Then Prata is the morning observation. Madha is the midpoint or solar noon observation. Sayam is the evening observation or the sunset observation, and Zayana is basically the sleeping observation before sleep of the apparent primary body. Bodhana is the waking of the apparent primary body, God in the form of Om. Shuddhi is the purification. Process that is before each of these observances. Om. Now, the click into PVSSSV2 is the Bodhana. The check mark, what is called the green check mark next to Bodhana there, that indicates that there is viewing of that part of all of the Panchavandanam, the 15 revelations. The green check mark indicates that there is viewing of the Bodhana, or the second revelation. That is an indication, that's an indicator there. So that it's a way to reference through the revelations and know which revelation is there is viewing of, because the beginning of each revelation contains a sort of a table of contents of the 15 revelations, so that there's an overview within each of the separate ones. Om, seemingly. God in the form of Om. Then again here, when there's clicking from the main first scripture, then there's going to the PVSSSV6, which is the Zayana, and there's the green check mark indicating that. It is more navigatable on the website, God in the form of the website, than it would be in God in the form of Facebook interface, where there aren't hyperlinks. However, the scriptures on the Gitfo, God in the form of the website, Gitfo, Om, this is God in the form of, have hyperlinks, but only minimal hyperlinks, because there is not wanting to clutter the scriptures with links, and then there is losing of purity of absorption of the scriptures that way. So the links are very minimal. So there might have to be following to the scriptures when in the other scriptures, not in the front scripture, which is the PVSSSV1, which does have a few more links than the rest of the scriptures do. Then there should be the use of the search bar. Hey, Shanti. That's Gitfo, Mika, and Christoph. Usually having peace, but occasionally having dust-ups. So there should be use of the search bar. Here, this can be shown here. The search bar occurs on every page of the of the website. On what is called the sidebar. And there can be typing in any words or titles that are referenced in the scriptures, and then they'll be seeing the results page and be able to choose from what the results are that come up. So if there is any confusion about navigating the scriptures in general, the search function of the GIFO website is very useful. And then the next component is PVSSSV7, which is the Shuddhi. There's the green check mark. Which indicates that are on the Shuddhi revelation. And this is the purification process. This purification process is to be gone into, not in full. There are going to be more detailed teachings that go into specific parts of the Shuddhi. But this is going to broach the Shuddhi Jala, water. And then got in the form of the teachings that are pertinent to those observances, which would be PVSSSV 8. And these are listed in each one, at the beginning of each one here, of the Bodhana and the Zayana. There's, here, scroll to that, the scriptures reference list. So for the Bodhana, for instance, number 1 is the Shuddhi PVSSSV7 that should be referred to, and then 2 is mudra, to get the mudras that are used in the Bodhana, and that's 8. And then asana is again the same scripture, 8. And then the Japamala is PVSSSV 11, which references one other scripture. So when there's viewing of the scripture, what is needed is basically in this list right here. And then we're going to the other teachings that are needed. So this is the 8, PVSSSV 8, the asana, which has the mudras and the asanas for the apparent primary body. This is a quite lengthy scripture that is referenced in practically all the other scriptures of the Panchavandanam. It is very, very important scripture. It's a central scripture. And there should be familiarization in God consciousness, absorption of this information, cross-referencing to it until it becomes familiar. And but if need be, at the beginning of this processing, there can just be referencing by looking up the acronyms by a search. For instance, searching for PM, and then that resulting of the searching using a regular search key in the keyboard, got in the form of, will give the PM is the pranam mudra, which is always accompanied by Om. The pranam mudra has variants as well, but basically pranam mudra is the hands, palms put together, fingers together, and Om. Whether it's internalized, sounded out or not, it's still, there is still God thought or God speech of Om. And then there are variants of the prana mudra that are used throughout the scriptures. But that is a way of navigating. And then the asanas, all the asanas of the revelations of the Panchavandanam. So this is quite an extensive scripture, Om. And there are formulae that is comprised of Om. And then the Panchavandanam PB SSSV 11, which have the mantras of the Panchavandanam Om. And then these go through the mantras, and there's a glossary of the tri Maha mantra Jodi. Om. Hey. All right. Om. Yeah, God's fine. Here. Yeah. Let me hang up here. Hold on. Here. Come on over here. Put the body over here. Okay. Hold on. All right. All right. What? Look at the screen. You want to view the screen? Oh. All right. And then the tri-Maha mantras can be referenced in, these are concise forms of the mantras. These can be referenced in full in the, it gives the references to the main scriptures. And this one that is being used in Bodhana and Zayana is SSSV 91, which is the God Om mantra, Om. Again, most of this may look complicated upon viewing, but once the practice ensues, it becomes very habitual and ultimately simple and elegant. But at first it might seem apparently daunting. So be not disturbed by that. That is why there is beginning with the more simple observances, so that there can be easing into this processing. And it's celebratory, so it should be fun in a sense, as there is more and more familiarization with it. So this is the God Om mantra, and this goes into it in detail. Om. So there are all the Oms. Om. Om. And then the marker beads, which is then the God Gagar, Om. God alone exists, God alone is reality, and then back to the Oms, etc. All right, so that is the overview not going into detail right now, but about to, the overview by looking at God in the form of the pages that are being referenced in this teaching, this live stream teaching. There's checking on the God Intel tech. All right, Om. Wait, you can go over here. Let me put the body over here. Yep. Now, just before the live streaming in God Eternity, there was posting of God in the form of 2 Panchavandanam guides that are going to be the first 2 that are going to be propagated. Of the first one is of the Bodhana and Zayana, and the second one is the Shuddhi Jala. Which are going to be, that are in this live stream being referenced and viewable in this live stream, or and seemingly on the already propagated or about to be even more so propagated, but there can be viewing of those right now in eternity. If there's what is called scrolling down on the Gitfo Facebook profiling and the SATYAVEDISM, the God in the form of the Swami profiling, and the SATYAVEDISM Gitfo profiling on Gitfo Facebook. All right, and there can be seeing this. So there, that is the first one. The first one over to the left, right. And the second one there. Now, what is going to occur is that there's going to be playing of those videos first in full in this Gitfo live stream, and then there is a combination of visually exploring the text scriptures that are being referenced and scrutinizing the video for commentary, for elaboration. So there's going to be playing of the videos. And this is the Gitfo first. There is no sound accompanying it. So this is for Bodhana and Zayana. There is putting down of the Ashtara, the rug, the worship rug. Usually the body would be fairly unclothed upon waking. So this is not exemplary of what the body would look like in that sense of doing that. It would probably be in what would be considered sleep clothing, and having just arisen from reclining. there is no speaking right now. That will be speaking about this. And then there's bringing back up of the rug, the Ashtara, Om, God in the form of Om. Now there is viewing of the second teaching, instructional guide, with sound. Om, God, in the name of. Om, God, action. Om, God, thought. Om, God, speech. Om. 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 Om, God, action. Om, God, thought. Om, God, speech. Om. God alone exists, God alone is reality. I am God, I am God, I am God, Om, Om, Om. Om, God, in the name of. Om. 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 Om, God alone exists, God alone is reality. I am God, I am God, I am God. Om, Om, Om. Om. All right, so those are being presented, and then they also are viewable seemingly separately as well. There is no separation, but viewed in various forms. So there's going to the Bodhana scripture. So it is the first ritual observance. It is done first thing upon the apparent primary body's wakening. So there is reading this. Githo, Bodhana is the first observance of Pancha, canonically performed immediately upon apparent primary body waking. Then these are the reference list of the scriptures to reference, and then here is the formula for the Bodhana. The first is Shuddhi JT, and that means Jala Tilaka, which is the marking on the apparent body forehead of water. So this should be referring to the Shuddhi for those instructions. Number 2 is the mudra, PM. As just seen in the previous scrolling, PM is the prana mudra. So there would be beginning with the prana mudra, and then placing 3 is the ashtara, which is the prayer rug or the observance rug, and that is the placing of the observance rug down on the Gifo floor. Then 4 is the asana, which is now these are abbreviations or acronyms, VA or JSDA, which means that there can be 2 asanas and choosing between one of 2. There is to be referencing that momentarily in eternity. 4 is then what 5 is the mudra sequence that is used before Japamala begins. It's the PM to AML to JML, which are indicators of how the left and right Gifo hands are positioned. And previous is the asana. Number 4 is the body positioning. And then 6 is the Japamala, and that is of Om, which here in the reference list that says there, number 4, Japamala PV SSSV 11. So that would be, the cross-referencing would be indicating what mantra is being used, and that shorthand there, Om, says that is the mantra being used, Om. 7 is the Ashtara is then again removed from the floor, got in the form of Om. And then 8 is what mudra is the hand gesture that is made again, which is the PM, which is the pranam mudra. So the pranam mudra begins before placing the Ashtara and ends before, after placing the Ashtara, removing the Ashtara, Om. Now, this doesn't have to be exactly done this way. It's possible that the pranam mudra might be done after placing the Ashtara or before removing the Ashtara, or perhaps even that there just spontaneously the pranam mudra may be done maybe once or twice before and after placing the Ashtara or removing the Ashtara. It's sort of spontaneous, as this apparent body seems to do much pranam mudraing in general. So anyway, there is freedom to sort of extemporize with gesturing spontaneously like that. This is the Bodhana and Zayana are specifically supposed to be as simple as possible, so that the apparent primary body might be able to even do the gestures when seemingly not completely alert, or what is otherwise known as not quite awake or sleepy, or whatever seeming words might be suitable for that, for the body's way of moving around. So it is not supposed to be elaborate in gestures, in that it can be done upon waking and slight somewhat grogginess perhaps, although some bodies are not groggy upon waking, some seemingly are, so depending on that. So, but in any case, these two observances are specifically made to be able to be executed in observances very easily, without much, without a lot of preparation or anything like that. In other words, very simple. So there is checking upon God responding. Om, God in the form, God in the happening of. Om. Right? Om. So let's, there should be referencing now of the text scriptures. So there's beginning with mudra, and asana. And then we'll be going to the Shuddhi. Om. Although the Shuddhi should be performed first, seemingly. Om. So the mudra, there's referencing again. There could be searching in with the Gifo keyboard. Om. And the Gifo mudras are at the beginning, and the asanas are further down in the seeming text, the scripture. So again, this is PVSSSV 8. And then here, that green check mark there within the asanas, which include mudras because they're all positionings of various body seeming parts. So PM there stands for prana mudra. It's the first letter of each word. Pranam, P, and mudra, M. And again is inclusive of Om, saying Om, either seemingly externally or internally. There is no internal or external, but for speaking purposes here, there is that would be speaking aloud or silently, Om, intoning. And there can be the use of any of these prana mudras upon liking, if there's wanting to put the prana mudra here, or perhaps here in the forehead area, etc. That can be spontaneously, can occur. Then the asana. So the asana to choose from is the VA or JSDA. So then there's checking for VA here. VA asana is the standing, understanding, sitting, and reclining of the apparent body. So this is the sitting position, and the asana VA stands for Vrajasana, which is the lightning bolt asana in what is called regular Hatha Yoga. There are some familiar terms in the Panchavandanam, but most of the terms do not refer to what would be considered other seeming teachings that are not Satyavedism specifically. Those are not specific to Satyavedism. They're more generalized. But for the most part, the Panchavandanam vernacular in all of the Sanskrit terminology is what would be considered unique or original. But this is a known asana in general. So Vrajasana, which is the sitting upright and the knees together, the legs folded underneath, which has already been exhibited in the video presentation. And then the alternate, and that is sitting still, the body sitting still in that positioning. Then the alternate is called Janu Spandalakasana. Janu meaning legs. And that is the JSDA. So that's sitting upright, knees together and the legs folded underneath, while gently pranaming or rocking. So, and then again, that is maybe substitute as preferred, or if there would be improvement upon in the performance, it can be spontaneously done either. The Spandalaka is specifically in just a natural flow or spontaneous actioning of the body when in conjunction with the mantra, the japamala, there is a rhythm that that happens upon the speaking or intoning of the mantra. Most mantras are very rhythmical. So the spandalika, the rocking, the pranaming, basically is a very natural gesturing, and so there's the ability to choose that asana that coincides with the rhythm of the mantra, and that can be alternated as will be shown with the detailing of viewing of the videoing. So those are the two reference asanas. Now the mudra is the PM to AML, and then the JML. So there's already knowing that the PM is the prana mudra. So now there is referencing the AML. And there's going to be going to full here. You see the full screen. God in the form of there is a 15-second delay in eternity on the live streaming, so there is checking on the, in general, that is the way that usually occurs. There's checking upon that to make sure that that is functionally. So the AML is the Abhya mudra, left hand. So that is this. So the Abhya mudra is the raised hand palm out to the side of the head, indicating God peace. So AMR is R is right. Abhya mudra, right hand. And Abhya mudra, left hand, is at AML, Om. And then the mudra Jiv, Div is two hands. So that happens when there's pranaming, and then the hands go out to the side like this, Om. Oh. There needs to be splitting here. Again, the demonstrating the AMR is to the right here, and then AML is to the left. And it's a natural, there's a natural progression to go from prana mudra to both AMD. Dviv meaning two. So the flow here is for the mudra. is PM to AML. So the flow here is for the mudra. Okay. Is PM to AML. So that's this. Wait. Again, that's pranam is PM to AML to this. And then this, when there's no specification of a mudra for this, for the hand, it goes down. And then to flowing to, so it goes, it is prana mudra flowing to AML, flowing to JML. So JML is, so it goes, it is prana mudra flowing to AML, flowing. So here, the highlighting here of JML, that is the Satya Mudra of Satyavedism, the Eka Janam Mudra, Om. So EMPR it's used in conjunction with EMPR usually, but in this case, it is done singularly. JML signifying divine knowledge. So that is, so it goes from this to this, and then this hand goes down upon the leg, and then this is horizontally what it looks like. No, sorry. No. This is the eka. That's done with the other hand, usually, but is not part of this. This. Upon the thigh. It is the opposite of, or seemingly the mirror image of this. The Eka Mudra. These fingers go out, and the pointer finger goes under, and then is wrapped around by the thumb. And then this is sort of the opposite, which is the fingers go in, these three go in, this goes out, signifying the one, God, Om. And then the thumb goes down. But this is a gesture that is used in the Panchavandanam and elsewhere in conjunction together, left and right, apparent body, hands, But in the Bodhana and Zayana, this is a gesture, just this, because this hand has to be free for the japa mala. That is why. Although it can, the index finger can be pointed out while the japa mala is occurring. Anyway, but it is not written into the scripture that should be done, because it can be done additionally, and this apparent body does that in general. But it is not specifically in the scripture. This is. It's just to be demonstrated again when going through the video. So again, this to this, and then down to this on thigh. So that is the flow. That is the flow there. Number 5. The arrows indicate mudra to mudra to mudra. If there is a plus next to an arrow, that means in conjunction, meaning both hands are to be doing something together, and there should not be dropping of one mudra and replacing the other. With the arrows indicate one mudra and then another mudra and then another mudra, meaning replacing. And the arrow plus would mean not holding one of the mudras and then additionally adding the other mudra. And number 6 is the japamala, which is of Om. So that is cross-referenced here. So there's the Tri-Maha Mantra. And that is the first one, the God Om Mantra, Om, SSSV 91. So the shorthand, so that there may not even be reference to the longer version of that, although it is convenient, it's optimal to be familiar with this SSSV 91 and the other two mantras that basically indicate what mantra is to be intoned, depending on the mala count. For instance, the marker here, there's sort of an interruption after 27 ohms, and then there is on their 3 marker beads, there is the God Gagar, which is God alone exists, God alone is reality, Om. And then continuing with the Oms, Om. But there's a shorter, more concise version here within the Panchavandanam, Om. And so again, there's a glossary basically of the Tri-Maha Mantra, Jodi glossary, and this breaks down the mini scriptures into even micro. So that is called Shukshma mantra, which means micro mantra. So a subcategory of the mantras would be the micro mantras, and that would be, for instance, looking here, if you could scroll up to here, scrolling up to here, God happening, the God Om, the God 3 Om. The God 3 Om is very simple. It's Om, Om, Om. So God 3 Om is a micro mantra. It's a component of the more broad mantras, and it's called the Shukshma mantra, Om. So all of this is detailed here. So the God Om mantra is found here. It's a God Om JMD, which is the Japamala mantra Dhyana. And it's performed at Bodhana, which is another short term, is called, our acronym is PV1, or Panchavandanam 1, and Zayana, PV5, Panchavandanam 5, observance. So the God Om JMD formula, this here is a flow. It's a mini flow or micro flow at the top here. So the God Om mantra for Japamala begins with silence, and then there is saying of the 3 Oms 3 times. So the 3 Om, again, God 3 Om is Om Om Om. So it's the saying of the scriptures are these revelations of the Panchavandanam are extremely mathematical, and there are formulae within the scriptures. And so it can be reduced to formulae in. It can, taking this broad, elongated scripture and making it very, very concise. So there's silence, and then the 3 Oms 3 times, so that's Om Om Om, Om Om Om, Om Om Om. And then there's the beginning of the Oming for the count of 27. For the Japamala, count of 27 beads, God in the form of Om. And then the Gagar is God alone exists, God alone is reality, which is done 3 times within that. And then the Om going for 27 more. And for the Bodhana and the Zayana, this is done only once, but for in other observances, it may be done however many times, or not within the Panchavandanam. The Japamala can be done of the mantra or the mantras, and that can be done however many number of times, which is N. The N times stands for number of times or number of rounds. So where N is 1 and the Pancha is otherwise during or within the Pancha, otherwise N can be infinite oming. So there's another version of God Om here, which is the JMD concise, which basically extends the formula out or unpacks it. So there's God silence, and then there's repeating for 3 times the God Om, which is Om Om Om, and then repeating 27 times Om here, these Oms, and then stopping after 27 and to speak the God Gagar, which is God alone exists, God alone is reality, and then resuming for the next 27 beads, and so on. And then at the seeming end, then there's the 3 Oms, 3 Oms, and there's God silence, and there can be repeating in a loop. But again, for Bodhana and Zayana, that it is only done once. So that's the concise, the formula, which is the elegant mathematical expression, and then the concise expression, and then the compact, which shows even more so what is being done. God silence, again, this is this is expressing it in 3 different ways, and then the 4th way is the elongated way. So that you can choose between whichever seems more suitable for recalling how it should be done. Again, it eventually becomes automatic, and there's no need to refer to the scriptures visually for that. But as long as there's that isn't the case, then there should be referring to this. And also the video, for those that are more visual, there can be just viewing of the video and seeing what is occurring. And then this can be used in conjunction, which is optimal, which is being able to refer to the scriptures as to what is to be done, and also have viewing of it visually. And then the ashtara, the rug, is removed from the floor, God in the form of the ashtara, God in the form of the floor, God in the form of the apparent primary body, God in the form of everything, Om. And the prana mudra is done, completing the observance, Om. So this when this is first occurring, to become familiar with Bodhana and Zayana, and also let there be reference to the Zayana. The Zayana is exactly the same in formula, only it is done, the Bodhana is done upon waking of the primary apparent body, and the Zayana is done just before the reclining and putting down of the body for sleeping, for rejuvenation of cellular mechanics, etc. So, but the observance is basically the same. So it is the same formula. Now, both can be done with when first becoming familiar with this. If the body is not accustomed to waking up with a certain amount of energy, and as these practices go on, there's going to be more and more God energy that's going to fill the body, seemingly. There's more and more Shakti. But if there is, upon first starting out with these practices, seemingly, initially, there's speaking this, initially with the apparent body reclining in savasana, Om, which means the reclining pose on the back, lying down prone, reclining on the Gifo back, Om. On bed, sofa, sleeping surface, until lethargy. This is for Zayana. Until lethargy upon approaching sleep diminishes and training is successful. Subsequently, the Zayana must be performed using an ashtara, the rug, per rug, or worship rug, unless there is illness or sleep deprivation. And that, depending on what is occurring, that may be variable, seemingly. So, but again, with the Bodhana, it would be the same, but until lethargy upon waking diminishes and training is successful. So there, in getting used to the scheduling for this, or just in general, the apparent primary body getting used to the purification processing, the various ways of purification, which would include dietary changes, etc. The body seemingly is going to need some adjusting to all of that, and there may be or may not be that there, or maybe used to being lethargy of the body upon waking or upon getting ready to recline for sleeping. And so if there's too much tiredness initially, then the Bodhana and Zayana can be done basically lying down without the Ashtara in prone, and with the Japamala, etc. Basically doing the same procedure or observance, but without the formality of the standing and sitting positions, etc. And as already stated in the previous Lssv 28, that all of these observances can be done without any sort of seeming equipment or tools whatsoever. They can be done what would be considered mentally, got in the happening of mental visualization or astral, what would seem to be astral body, astral parent body proceduring. Again, this is all God happening, and God is doing all. And that is to be gone into when, for various reasons, the primary parent body may not be able to observe in a more formal way that employs the tools and the positionings and all. That there can be alternate ways to do the observances anyway, even without any tools. But it is. But those are exceptions. That would be aberrant observing of the Gifo rituals, and that for various reasons that would be correct and appropriate. But when first starting these observances, though, the optimal way that this should occur is by using the Ashtara and the Japa and the Mala as tools. But when there is much tiredness of the body upon starting or beginning these procedures, then it is all right for to do this alternate version way of observing, but only sort of what is considered upon initiating this, and it is not optimal either. So it is just for seeming those bodies that are really would be having a difficult transactioning of this. It's an alternate way to do so and still observe. But then again, unless there's an illness or sleep deprivation after that adjustment has been made. So there is going to the videoing occurring for demonstrationing. So for Bodhana and Zayana, so the primary parent body is getting ready to put down the Ashtara, the observance rug. And that can be positioned anywhere in any seeming room, or there can be a specific place for the Ashtara where it can be put out and not and there's no need to have it be put down or taken up, seemingly gotten the happening of a corner of a room basically dedicated to it, where there wouldn't be traffic of the bodies walking back and forth over the ashtara. It must be kept very clean, and it has the apparent body, primary body's energies that are absorbed within it. So it can be, there can be a devoted placing of it, or it can be for travel back and forth between seeming rooms in infinity. So there was God silence, and then the three Om Om Oms, and then the beginning of the Om, which in this case is internalized. The Om with each bead, Om, for the Japamala. And the Spindalika is being, the Janu Spindalika is being exhibited here for the internal, seeming internal. The Om, the mantra. Then the body, the apparent body, stops moving. And again, there's a choice between having the body in the sitting position, asana, and not moving, or moving with the mantra rhythm. Either's fine. And then upon the marker bead, the body should stop moving either which way, whether it's moving or not. If it's not moving, then it should stay not moving. And if it is moving, then it should stop. It should stop moving, and then say the Om God Gagar, which is Om God alone exists, God alone is reality. And then resuming with the Oms. And this time, this is being seemingly externalized by the apparent body. So both ways of executing this are demonstrated in this: the stillness with Om and the movement with Om. And then there's just spontaneous movement, and that is fine. The body would usually be fairly undressed upon waking or sleeping. However, it varies. This is just an example. This body is fully dressed just for these purposes, but that is not the way it would be for the observance. The observance would be the body upon waking or getting ready for sleep would be in whatever attire would be suitable for that. Very informal, in other words. And the eyes of the apparent body can be closed or open, depending. If the eyes are open, then the eyes should be on the approximately the first third of the ashtara as a focal point. There should be not focusing on what is going on in the seeming room in infinity, or unless there is a guide video being employed in order for demonstration purposes as a guide, then the eyes can be focused and used for watching that guide or reading that guide, etc. And that is all right. But otherwise, the eyes are either closed or on a focal point where the eye movement is focused on one position, basically, or on the beads. spontaneously, but it should not have other distractions like other sounds and videos and or cell phoning or listening to other transmissions, etc. It should be focused upon the observance. All right, and then basically the rug is taken back up, and or again, if there's a devoted place for it, kept there, out of the traffic of apparent bodies moving around, if that is the case. Otherwise, taken up, cleaned and taken up and put away. All right, Om. Now that basically is most of the introduction to Bodhana and Zayana. Of course, there'll be if there's questioning about the details of how these observances should be executed, there's going to be plenty more God information about that, and of course openness to any queries about it whatsoever. In the specifically more so in the satsangas, but the live streams and the guides and all of this God information in various forms are going to make this more and more apparent and easy to follow, and unpacking the Panchavandanam scriptures, revelations, in various ways, even maybe animations and very in all forms, basically in all forms of information, because the Panchavandanam is so essential and core to the teachings in the way of the actual practices, and again celebratory as well. It is not what is considered conventional prayer or worship. It is non-dual, completely Advait, non-dual, in that God is doing everything because God alone exists. So there is no individual doing these Bodhana and Zayana. This is God executing these observances, and there is no with this what is called sadhana or spiritual practices of Satyavedism. It is explicitly it should be known that it's explicitly all God doing. There is no individual trying to get to God or trying to become God, because everything is already God, and everything that is being done is already being done by God. So it is a completely God truth, God vision of what is actually God occurring, what is God eventing. It is not seen through the context of what would be called relativity at all. It is a completely actual God, actual reality in its observance. So no one has to do all these practices in order to get to God or to become anything. It is already God. God is doing all of this, and it's God's celebration. So these practices are merely to make it more and more apparent what is God already, and it has become more and more obvious. So now on to in eternity. The second guide that is just released in eternity is for the Shuddhi Jala. And Shuddhi comes seemingly before all of the 5 observances. And specifically what is being mentioned, the Bodhana and Zayana, it is observed and executed before these 2 observances, PV 1 and 5. So if the body is too lethargic to do the Shuddhi Jala, then again it is already being stated in the Bodhana and Zayana scriptures that there can be leading up to that. And so if the body is reclining in bed, the apparent primary body is reclining in bed and is seemingly too tired to either get out of the bed and go to a water source, or to have already performed the Shuddhi with the water source and then recline into bed or whatever. If it's even too tired for that, and there are bodies that are like that, so there has to be adjustment. Then there obviously most probably would be skipping of the Shuddhi, which is the purification process, purification body process, and that would be all right initially. But when the body becomes more accustomed, acclimatized to this, then the Shuddhi should proceed for any of the 5 observances, all the 5 observances. All right, so that is PV SSSV 7. So it's going to, and that's Zayana, and this is PV SSV 7. Just checking on the GitHub live stream. All right. God auspiciousness, always. So the Shuddhi, the purification process. Then there is the reading of Jodi 1, which is Shuddhi is the 2-step purification and symbolic actioning process that is done before the Pancha Satya Kriya of Pancha, signifying God thought, speech, action. It's comprised of the Sneyavara Vrata, which is the ablution, or the cleanse, the water cleansing, and the Tilaka Vrata, which is the sigil, which is the symbol or the mark on the parent body forehead. So there is more information that is going to be expounded upon in this scripture. This is going to be specifically what information is needed for the Bodhana and the Zayana in particular. God and the happening of. So the Sneha Vrata ablution. So ablution is water bathing, purifying through water, and that's Sneha. And the tilaka is the mark on the forehead. Vrata is basically solemn activity or a pious devotional observance. More analogous to Kriya in a sense. So this is Sneha is symbolic of God Absolute, and 2 of God Consciousness, oceanic purity. Again, this is where the water metaphor plays in that basically the ocean is the ocean of consciousness. It is symbolic of course, God is not only consciousness. God consciousness is within God. So one should not say, I am consciousness, because I am so much more than consciousness. I am God, and God consciousness is within God Absolute. I am not merely consciousness. But this is symbolic of God consciousness, as in the ocean of consciousness. And 3, purity of God thought, God speech, God action. So at the beginning of this, there should be being at a water source of running water or not. If there needs to be using of buckets or implements to hold the water, or even very small cup or whatever, so be it. That can be gone into as to where the water is from and how it can be contained. But if there is access to running water, such as a sink, God in the form of a sink, then that should be used. In the video that has just been released in the guide, it is viewed as there is demonstrating of use of running water via sink, God in the form of So there should be saying aloud, or seemingly what is called internally, when there is, it's number 1 is say, specifically, say, Om, God in the name of. And then there's the washing of the hands with cleanser and rinsing to signify God action. There is much action seemingly that is done by that appears in the God in the form of the APB, the apparent primary body, that is done with seeming forms of hands. So it is not only just a metaphor for it, but it is actually demonstrated that God action seemingly occurs through the use of hands that are quite dexterous in the various ways in which God work is done. So the hands, cleaning of the hands is both metaphor and not an actual, to signify God actioning. Also, there is an added benefit to to this procedure of the cleansing. The cleansing is not only to be considered purifying of the mind, the minding content, and of the God consciousness, clearing of debris, in other words, by the introduction of God truth content, speech, God action, God thought, etc., as substitute for fiction content. But it also is purification of the primary, apparent primary body as well, quite literally. And one of the benefits of this is that if the body is active in God and the happening of the purification of the body in terms of dietary changes for purification, such as veganism and vegetarianism, etc., then it is a great added benefit for the observance of the Shuddhi, the Snaya, is to have body cleanse purification that cleanses the body from all sorts of germs, that actually is purifying the body from and preventing the body from contracting various diseases that are spread by the body and the hands of the body not being clean enough. That is in certain locations, seemingly in the non-local infinity, God infinity, there are seeming problems with cleanliness and the contraction of diseases and the spread of diseases that are spread, or hand-borne, spread through to other seeming apparent bodies. So one of the benefits, and one of the benefits that is explicit in this observance, is meant to be, it is not just by seeming accident, and there are no accidents in God eventing at all anyway, but it is explicitly meant to reduce the contraction and the spreading of germs that cause diseases. So it is of great benefit in that respect as well. And the hands, for signifying God actioning, are actually the hand washing, hand purification is done 2 times, not just once, but 2 times in the Snaya. It is done once before the use of cupping the water in order to rinse the Gifo mouth, but it is done afterwards, so that there is no contracting of germs that might be spread from the mouth to the hand back out. So this should employ the usage of what is called Gifo soap, and as expressed in the first in PV SSSV 1, there is a list. This has already been spoken of in Lssv 28. There is a list of seeming tools that can be used, and are not mandatory, but can be used in the observances of the Pancha. So this is applicable. For the Jala, there is clean water, drinkable. The cleanser, could optimally be vegan soap. 3, a sink, bucket, hose, for what is called indoors in infinity, God infinity. 4 could be a water bottle if it's outdoors in God infinity, and a hand sanitizer, again, outdoors or travel in God infinity, Ginfini, all of this is not needed. This is just enumerating what alternatives there can be here. So again, that needed to be God transmitted. Why this is important? That not only is it purification of the content of God consciousness, but it's purification of the body, because the body, all bodies are God as well, and so the bodies benefit from purification. So it's a multi-level purification process of God thought, God speech, God action, God in the form of bodies, etc. It works on all seeming levels in God. This is why these teachings, these alternate and different forms of teachings, need to be expressed, so that these teachings are just as essential as the scriptures that are encoded as well. They hold there is just as much truth weight in the live streaming and the satyas, avatara satsangas, and the various other teaching propagations. All are of the same weight and profundity in delivering God truth. So there is the saying of God in the name of, God in the name of, and the washing of the hands with cleanser and to rinse and signify God action. Then there is touching the wet fingers to here. It is to be seen in the video guide. The supernal notch right here, this signifies speech. This here signifies speech, because the speech is emanating forth and out through God in the form of the vessel, speaking, transmitting, transmitting God truth. So there is the touching of the fingers to that notch between the clavicles at the base of the throat to signify God's speech emanating. It can be said, as in the guide, it is actually said out loud, but it is not specified in the scripture that there is need to actually mouth or say those the significations: God thought, God speech, God action. That can be, if that's spontaneously done, as is demonstrated in the guide, so be it. But it is not actually necessary to say that. It's to know and to God thought it, if anything. But the first is say God in the name of. That is to be said specifically. Then there's saying of Om. Now 5, 6, 7, and 8 are of a round that is to be repeated. 5 is say Om. And then 6 is the cup water into the mouth with the right hand. And swish the water around in the cheeks and expel the water. Now what that does is that is signifying purification of God's speech. Washing the mouth out, in other words, of impurity. Because the words, the content is going to be expressed out, although there is God thought content as well, and that comes first for it to be thrust out into for God consciousness to seemingly hear. But there's purification of the content of the mouth of the source outward, that is speaking the words outward. So it is metaphorically purifying the God's speech, and also it is literally purifying the organ of speech apparently through the primary parent body, God in the form of Om, and then expelling the water out. 9 is to repeat the steps 5 through 8 3 times. So, and in doing so, there is the speaking of Om 3 times. So there is saying Om, and then with the water in the mouth, and then again Om, repeat Om, and then again repeat Om. So it's a circle of 3. 3 occurrences in a row to signify God's speech, and then repeating steps 2 through 4. Steps 2 through 4 again is washing of the hands with cleanser. So after the purification of speech, the hands need to be washed because the hands have been in contact with the mouth, and so the hands need to be washed again, signifying God action, and not just with water. This again should be with soap, because in purity of the body, contact with the mouth without washing the hands with a cleanser is not considered, it is not going to ward off germs, because the mouth can transmit germs. So that is why the cleanser is necessary in the second round of this purification. Oh. And then, so the washing of the hands again for God action, and then the touching of the wet fingers to the temples for signifying God thought, and then the touching of the wet fingers to the throat, to the base of the throat for God's speech again. So again, this is a mathematical configuration of action, of God action. Om. And then there's this asserting of the Satyavakya 10, which is God alone exists, God alone is reality. I am God, I am God, I am God. Om, Om, Om. Upon completion. Now in eternity, for the Bodhana and the Zayana, though, there is going into what is called the Jala Tilaka. Because when the body is first rising and when the body is being reclining for sleep, there is not the use of the Vibhuti Tilaka, because there should be clearing of the apparent body face, God in the form of, for the activities that are either going to occur or have already occurred in God eternity. So there's no formality as to putting on the tilaka or taking the tilaka off or whatever. There's what is called the Jala Tilaka, which is the putting on of tilaka, but it is not seen. It is transparent, in other words. Although it evaporates initially, there is some maybe water droppage where it would be glistening, but it is basically transparent. And if necessary, in certain cases, the Jala Tilaka can be employed where it is already specified in the scriptures, where there might, for one reason or another, not be able to use the Vibhuti Tilaka or other Tilaka. So it would be in lieu of the use of the Jala Tilaka would be applying of the Tilaka, but it would not be seen, and that is fine for the observancing if necessary. And then for the Bodhana and Zayana, though, that is what should be done. Specifically. So there, in the Shuddhi, there are the different versions of the Tilaka, but for these observances, PV 1 and 5, there is the Jala Tilaka. And that is the use of the 3 Om is employed in conjunction. So the Jala Tilaka, you use the middle finger, or it could be the 4th finger of the God, Gifo, God, apparent APB Om, and declare. So this would be saying out loud again, or internally if necessary. There's no inner or outer, but what is called that? Om. Om, God in the name of. And then applying the water with the use of the tip of the finger and with a patting gesture. In about the middle of the forehead, apparent body forehead, Om, and saying or chanting Om while doing so, Om. And that is repeated for 3 occurrences. So it's Om, and then pat Om together, and then asserting the Satyavakya 10. Again, that's Om, God alone exists, God alone is reality. I am God, I am God, I am God. Om, Om, Om. So there are some directives here for specifics. It is to the Jala Tilaka is JT is to be performed primarily for Bodhana and Zayana. That's PB 1 and 5, and under other circumstances, but selected by discernment. And again, this is not to replace, in the other observances, this is not to replace the visualization of the Tilaka because of embarrassment or not complying with social norms, etc. God is fearless. God should be fearless, so that should not be any problem for to be trying to hide anything. But for Bodhana and Zayana, the Jala Tilaka is what should be used, because the forehead should be able to breathe. The pores of the face, the apparent body face, need to have some breathing during what is called the sleep renovationing. The face should not have substances on it. It should be able to breathe for the skin health, unless there is in dire need of moisturizing for dryness, etc. All of that can be expressed or whatever, but still. And then so the Jala Tilaka dries, but it's there. All right, so So now there is playing and commentary of the Shuddhi video guide, which is of Sneha and Jala Tilaka. That's why it's called Jalaka. Shuddhi Jala, because it's exclusively basically water-based. Speaking of the water-based practices within Shuddhi for Bodhana and Zayana. All right. So the source of the gift of God in the form of the water is through a running water sink. And then there's a speaking of God in the name of. And then the cleansing of the hands, and with the cleanser. And then expressing that is God action, is expressive of God action. God thought, and putting the fingers together in the temples next to the Gifo brain, the parent body. Through the supernal notch near the clavicles, God's speech, Paravak Shakti, Om. Om 3 times, again signifying God's speech, cleansing. Then cleansing of the hands again, signifying God actioning, and for purification, for body purification, to not transact germs, spread of disease, body health, apparent body health, God thought again, God thought, God's speech, and then the Satyavakya 10, which is and then this should be direct transition to the Jala Tilaka. This is not the case with the other observances but it is for Bodhana and Zayana. It goes directly, and there should be no condensing. There should be no condensing of the Satyavakya 10 to just one Satyavakya. In that case, both should be observed at the end of the Snaya and at the end of the Jala Tilaka, not trying to push them together into one. So it segues into the Jala Tilaka. God in the name of Om. Om. And then the Satyavakya 10 again. Now there's going back to the PVSSSV1 to see if there have to be mention of any other items for the execution of the observances. It's already been mentioned here. The Jala for Shuddhi. The Vibhuti is not necessary for PV1 and 5 yet. The Mala, the Japa Mala, is it should be, the beads, garland should be count of 108, and with the Om Guru bead or Samuru, and optimally 3 interval markers or tassels, or if there need be, to be able to tie on to the mala. There are some malas that have the marker bead like this, as the marker bead here. There are 3 marker beads that break up the 27 beads, etc. And but if there is not access to a mala such as that, then there could be the use of tying a thread or some other Om God in the form of some other form to demarcate that. The just thread and ties, tassels, anything could be used, so that when there's getting to that marker, that impromptu improvised marker or whatever, that would be knowing to speak the other mantra. And there is various information, God information, at the end of PVSSSV8, the asana, that expounds upon the directives for the rug, the ashtara, God in the form of, and where is it here? That's for the rug, for the ashtara. And then PVSSV11, the directives for the mala. And there's quite a flexibility in what sort of Gifo mala should be used, and the number of beads, and what the mala should be comprised of in terms of the substances, everything. It's all God, God's substance. So there can be referring to that. If there are already malas for japa mala, fine. If there's wanting to get to procure a mala that's more specific to be able to use the demarcations, then so be it. So there can be there could be referring to this information, and this information might become other teachings specifically in order to answer and questioning queries about specifics. That is found again. The Mala directives are found in PVSSSV 11, which is under mantra, fittingly, and the Ashtara rug, got in the form of directives, are under PVSSSV 8, which is under asana, which is also fitting. All right, and the devices and cell phone and etc. are not applicable specifically here, and the scriptures are being referred to, are being referred to and specified. And most of this information here, optimal information here, is unnecessary for these practices specifically. As to scheduling, there are different schedulings, as already has been gone into, for canonical observance, which is the Orthodox observance, which basically has specific time frame in eternity, what are called morning and evening and all of that, but vary depending on seeming location, etc. in God Infinity. That has been gone into previously in Lssv 28, and what needs to be, as God information, what needs to be expressed here is that there are alternate schedulings as well. So regardless of whether it's canonical or otherwise, the apparent body is going to rise and going to set regardless of whatever seeming time in God Infinity is occurring, which is not that there is no time, but what seems to be light or darkness in the sky, etc. God in the form of that will vary. So, but the body, apparent primary body, God in the form of rising and setting, is when it occurs, unless it is extended, and that is to be gone into as well. If the apparent body, primary body, has to seemingly stay up in God eternity for an extensive period of time in eternity, and bypasses any kind of scheduling, but that is very aberrant. Usually it would not occur unless there were circumstances that were aberrant and whatever. But it can be dealt with. All of this is flexible and can be dealt with regardless. But the body it would normally have rising and setting. In any case, whatever the scheduling is. So there is occasionally what is called an overlap, or of what would be Bodhana and Pratna. Bodhana is the waking of the body, or the rising of the body, God in the form of the apparent body, the APB. So there might be an overlap, seemingly, apparently, if the body, what would be considered sunrise occurs and the body may rise before the sunrise, or there are circumstances where one might happen before, seemingly before the other. So if that were the case, it would still be, regardless, the Bodhana should still be done first. The observance should be done first, no matter what the seeming sun is doing, God in the form of Om. And then the pratha would be done following, depending upon the circumstance in regards to the time differential or whatever. That all of the seeming timing of this has already been explored and will be explored more so in detail, but not in this teaching. But it is being pointed out and referenced so that there is awareness of it, that there is sometimes seemingly an overlap, or would be a possible reversal of circumstances because of what is called sunrise, depending upon the body waking. And for sleeping, not as much, but it's possible. If the body is sleeping, is eluding sleep for an extended period of time in eternity. In any case, the Zayana should be the last performance as well, but it is to be gone into. And it has already been mentioned as to the applications to aid the observances in timing in God eternity, but generally there's some sort of alarm that occurs for the body for upon awakening. Sometimes not. Sometimes God in the form of the apparent bodies wake when the light becomes lighter, and just naturally. It depends. But in any case, there is reference here to when and how to observe, depending on seeming time and eternity, for intervals. And the alternate scheduling, the aberrant scheduling, etc. That's all here in the God in the form of the first revelation, PVSSSV1. So this should be this is the portal into the other observance, the other revelations, the other 14 Panchavandanam revelations. To reiterate, it is not, be not confused that this is the whole scripture, the PVSSV1. This is not the whole scripture. This is just the first scripture of 15 scriptures, God in the form of. So don't take it to be the whole scripture. It is not. It is only the portal into the other scriptures. These red links here indicate the clicking to the other scriptures. Then at the top in the scrolling, God in the form of, these are all links to the other scriptures. But again, on the God in the form of Facebook, etc., those links are not going to be there. So there has to be referencing the other Panchavandanam revelations through the clicks to the website, or by finding the other scriptures that are proximate to the first. There's several ways that the linking is done on the GIFO website. At the foot of the script of all of the scriptures is an index to the other scriptures, and at the top of the scriptures is again a table of contents to the other scriptures. So there is checking occurring. That is a comprehensive first view of the Bodhana, God, and the happening of the Bodhana ritual and the Zayana ritual, and the Shuddhi ritual, specifically the Sneha, Jala, and the Jala Tilaka, to commence the observance of the more simple of the 5 ritual observances of the Panchavandanam of Satyavedism. So all of the tools, the simple tools, God in the form of, that are utilized in the very simple, straightforward observances of those two observances that are meant to be simple. They're meant to be very simple, because the body is the APB is rising and setting, basically seemingly beginning God activity, and or so ending it in that way of that is what appears to be conventionally. And all of the Panchavandanam, again, is non-dual God activity in God. It's God happening. All God happenings. There is no person or individual doing any practices or worshiping. It is only God that is doing everything. It is all meant for the dissolving and the purification of ignorance that is simply occluding God truth. That it will be more and more apparent that it is of the God truth that already is, that you are, you, God, I. There is no need for what is called conventional sadhana, or conventional worship, which is usually expressed in either worship of a God that is separate from oneself, and or that in a seeming apparent a body that is individual is trying to get to God or become unified with God, or has to do activities or various activities in order to become something that one is not, that there has to that all of that is fiction. God is already, you as God myself, are already God. Everything is God. Everything seen and unseen is God. There is nothing that needs to be attained. There is nothing that needs to be done in order to become something that is not already. All there is the uncovering of what already is. Now, for God realization, there's a difference seemingly between self-realization and God realization. So there can be self-realization seemingly as this occurs. There can be self-realization there can be what is called purification and deconstruction that can happen seemingly before self-realization, or in some ways it can certain seeming activities can happen seemingly after self-realization. In other words, what is called self-realization is not the end of something. There are seeming processings that must occur one way or another, whether they seemingly in fiction look like they're before or after something. The proceduring has to occur somehow, one way or another, by God will. And then there's what is called God realization, which extends all of that out, and all of the God manifestation and God doing and all the God activity, the God energetics, all of that. There is so much more than what is just called self-realization. But what appears that way, what is usually spoken of that way, it is not spoken of correctly. It is spoken in relative terms in fiction in order to express something, in order to convey some sort of information, but all it seems to do by expressing it that way, in the way that is conventionally expressed, is to create more fiction. So the Panchavandanam, God in the form of the Panchavandanam of SATYAVEDISM, again, these seeming ritual observances are not of individuals to God, or to get to God, or to become God, or anything like that. It is God actioning already. God actioning. God is doing everything. God is doing everything. So if God is clearing the ignorance, God is dissolving the false content, the fictional content or whatever, God is doing that. There's no person doing that. So the whole context needs to be in the context of God vision, not of individual vision, not of it has to tear the mask off of all the processing, the God processing. It is not to be seen as relative activity. It is God activity. All activity is of God. So all of the whatever seemingly are sadhana or whatever activities are all, they're not of an individual trying to get or do something, trying to get to something, trying to get over there through these activities. This is all God doing, all God manifesting. God is manifesting this as God. It must be seen in that God vision. And if that God vision, if it can't be seen that way, then it is to become to be seen that way. It is to become more apparent that all of this God activity is God, in fact, God doing, God manifesting. So the commencement of these activities, these God observances, this God celebration of God. So there should be beginning or commencing of with the reference to the scriptures. Reference to the scriptures. Reference to the guides, the video guides. And God in the form of God in the happening of the satyavatara satsangas are to address all of the Panchavandanam concerns, as well as much God information of more God information, and the various forms of God information of the Panchavandanam to be propagated. But this is the beginning, the seeming beginning or commencement of the ability, seemingly to have more tangible ways of transacting and working with God in the form of these scriptures and visualizations, etc. If there are specific concerns about the implementation, commencing with the implementation of this, and there's inquiry or questionings about it, that can be put in God in the form of God in the happening of the seeming comments on this God in the form of live stream Lssv 29, or it can be, or that can be through God in the form of FBM, God in the form of Gitfo, Facebook messengering to the Gitfo Swami profile, and or there can be waiting for the Satyavatara Satsanga, which is to occur shortly in God Eternity, as already specified on the Gitfo Swami page. And there would be, and there should be, so there's several ways of God transmitting questionings and queries, etc. on this. So this should be fairly straightforward, although it was necessary to show all the components and to go into the details, so that there could be more understanding of this. And this specifically, this live stream, should be of great utility. As for the incoming Facebook Gitfo, God in the form of Facebook Messenger requests, that is to be appropriate for the next Gitfo, God in the happening of Satyavatara Satsanga, again, which should be very soon in God Eternity. Very, very soon. So please, what is necessary to happen is there should be reviewing of this teaching, and if there are God in the form of those that have gone in and out of this teaching, or have only seen bits and pieces, or not at all seen, then there should be viewing in God consciousness and absorbing of the whole teaching, and the guides that have just been released that should be found proximate to this teaching as well, and the scriptures, And all of that God information in conjunction, in order to get a larger view of all that is, all the God information that comprises this. And then again, if there are any questions, God in the happening of questions, transmitting and receiving of God information is to be done, and until there is the ability to be fluent in being able to do these observances, to perform these observances. It eventually it should be easy. It should be easy. But all this information, all of this wealth of information, there's checking. Om pranam, om pranam. Om pranam, om pranam, om pranam, om. Om shanti, shanti, shanti. Om shanti, shanti, shanti. Om shanti, shanti, shanti. Om. Om, God alone exists, God alone is reality. Om, I am God, I am God, I am God. Om, om, om. Om pranam.